The balance of power. How Orlando Pirates paid the price as Sundowns registered Brayan León. The silence before the storm. In South African football, there are moments when the noise disappears. No chants, no whistles, no headlines screaming across the back pages. Just silence. That was the silence that fell across the Premier Soccer League offices on a quiet Tuesday morning when two registration documents landed on the same desk. Documents that would reignite one of the fiercest rivalries in African football history. On one side of the paper, Mamelodi Sundowns officially registering Brayan León. On the other, a clause buried deep in legal language that would force Orlando Pirates to pay compensation, not because they wanted to, but because football, at the highest level, never forgets its debts. And at the center of it all stood one name that refused to fade quietly into the background. Mamelodi Salang. When Salang crossed the divide. Months earlier, the football world had been shaken. Mamelodi Salang, Orlando Pirates' electric winger, fan favorite, and symbol of flair, was registered by Mamelodi Sundowns after a complex transfer process that had dragged on behind closed doors. To the public, it looked simple, but to the lawyers, administrators, and club executives, it was anything but. There were training compensation clauses, sell-on percentages, performance-based triggers, and one forgotten provision tied to a future player movement, a provision involving Orlando Pirates' interest in a South American forward named Brayan León. At the time, nobody paid attention, except Sundowns. The player nobody was watching. Brayan León was not a superstar when his name first appeared on scouting reports. He was raw, explosive, fearless, a forward who played with hunger rather than polish. Orlando Pirates had monitored him quietly, believing they had time. Their recruitment department saw León as a future project, not an immediate headline. But to Sundowns, they saw something else. They saw leverage. Because football transfers are not only about players, they are about timing, memory, and power. The contractual shadow. Hidden inside the Salang transfer documentation was a compensation mechanism. If Sundowns were to register a player previously monitored or formally approached by Pirates within a defined period, a reciprocal compensation clause would activate. It was not revenge, it was protection. And when Sundowns submitted Brayan León's registration, the clause came alive. The PSL compliance unit noticed it instantly. Emails were sent, phone calls followed, then silence again, until Orlando Pirates received the official notice. The boardroom meeting. The Pirates boardroom was tense. No shouting, no panic, just men and women staring at documents that confirmed the unavoidable truth. Compensation was due, not because Pirates had failed, not because they were careless, but because football at this level is played on paper as much as on grass. The amount was significant, not crippling, but symbolic, and symbols matter in rivalries. The fans react. News broke slowly. Social media filled with questions. Why are Pirates paying Sundowns? Is this about Salang? Did Pirates lose a legal battle? The clubs remained silent, because silence sometimes is strategy. Sundowns' calm confidence. At Clorcop, there was no celebration, just quiet satisfaction. Brayan León trained as usual. Salang adapted to his new system. The machine kept moving. For Sundowns, this was not about humiliating Pirates. It was about reinforcing a message. Every move has a consequence. The player at the center, Salang's reflection. Mamelodi Salang said nothing publicly, but those close to him spoke of a player torn between gratitude and guilt. He never asked to become a legal trigger. He never wanted to be a clause. Yet his move had reshaped two clubs' futures. In football, even the quietest transfer can echo for years. Orlando Pirates' response. Pirates chose dignity. They paid the compensation. They closed the file. They moved forward. No press conference. No accusations. Instead, the club doubled down on youth development, internal scouting, and legal precision. If Sundowns had taught them anything, it was this: margins decide everything. Brayan León finds his feet. As the story unfolded off the pitch, Brayan León focused on football. Goals followed. Confidence grew. Critics softened. Unknowingly, he had become part of a rivalry older than his professional career, and he embraced it. The league learns a lesson. Within PSL circles, the story became a case study. Clubs revisited contracts, lawyers rewrote clauses, executives paid attention. The era of casual paperwork was over. No winners, only consequences. Who won? Not Sundowns, not Pirates. Football won, because professionalism prevailed over chaos. The price of progress. When the season ended, trophies were lifted, goals replayed, and headlines forgotten. But in boardrooms across South Africa, one story remained alive. The story of how Mamelodi Sundowns registered Brayan León, Orlando Pirates honored their obligation, and Mamelodi Salang's move reshaped the balance. Not through drama, not through courts, but with respect for the game. Because in modern football, the biggest battles are not always played under floodlights. Sometimes they are settled with a signature.